In today's episode of Freaky Friday, we'll be looking at more apparent, real-life skinwalker sightings. So this first story was shared by a 14-year-old boy named Lee. He shared his story on Glenn Washington's podcast called Spooked. This incident happened one night when he was driving home. While driving, he saw something quite odd at the side of the road. He described this creature as being really tall and really thin with long arms and legs. Its shoulders, arms, and legs were all covered in fur. The creature then started running towards his truck with its arms swinging. He said that this thing was very fast. Lee was going 65 miles an hour and it still managed to keep up with him. To this day, he believes that he was chased by a skinwalker. What's even scarier is that both his grandfather and his dad have had very similar encounters, and so he thinks that the skinwalkers are coming for him and his family. Next up, we have some photos that somebody took that apparently it's a skinwalker. So I took these pictures / a video out my window where I was living. It looks like a deer, but a deer wouldn't be able to get in there or be able to fit its head / antlers out of that space. Yeah, I see the deer, but it more looks like, I don't know. I'm gonna put the images on the screen in the video right now. Let me know what you guys think. It definitely took me a while to see it, and it's definitely weird. Like, it doesn't look like a real deer, but it spooks me. This next story was posted by a guy named Chuck Wolf. It was mid-November 2021, and me and about 10 friends were camping in the woods in the Sawtooth National Forest near Petite Lake. There were 2 groups of 4 people in 2 tents, and 1 in a car, and me and my buddy were in hammocks near the edge of the camp. It's about 1 a.m., and we all had been sleeping for about 2 hours. I wake up to my hammock mate panting extremely heavily and yelling my name. I am confused and get up and help him. He is paralyzed by fear. He said that he had an extremely vivid dream. There was a black figure, tall and slender, trying to break into his car after he had seen this figure decapitate me and the rest of his friends. Whoa. He said that he woke up to the figure near the car and saw all of our heads stuck on sticks throughout the camp. He then clicked the car alarm button and the figure began to run circles around the car and then stopped and dashed off extremely quickly into the woods. I was obviously freaked out at this point and I immediately felt uneasy. Well, yeah, me too. But I told him it was just a bad dream and that he needed to go back to bed. Him and I tried for about 5 minutes, both scared with fear. That's when we hear our friend in the tent begin to yell, "No, no, no, don't take me." Side note, we had not awoken anyone else in the camp at this point. This freaked me and my buddy out quite a bit because we had no idea what was going on. We were also very vulnerable in our hammock by ourselves about 50 yards across camp. Our buddy's yells proceed to wake up most of the rest of the camp, and we find out that our friend in the car that my buddy said clicked the car alarm was awake. All of us were scared and awake, and they had a conversation about what's going on, and the buddy in the car says that he heard scratching on the window and heard something pull the door. He also said that he had seen this black figure running around the car as well. We were all freaked at this point and decided to move into the same tent. Okay, at least they did that. Our friend with the dream also claimed to have a similar murder story to the friend in the hammock. The next morning, we all talked, and so many of us experienced what happened that night. 6 in total. Wow. 6 people in total had basically almost the same nightmare. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. The fact that 6 of you all had similar nightmares. Yeah. Oh, you're lucky you didn't wake up with your head on a stake. Alright, next up we have another video clip that I'm gonna play for you. So, I don't know if you guys saw that, but it almost seemed like a ghostly figure move across the camera. If it's not a skinwalker, I don't know, maybe it's just like a ghost. that for sure looked like someone crawling along, but it was ghostly. I don't know, let's read the comments. So the person said that I just want to add, when my parents were younger, like 15 years ago, they went camping in the park with their friends where this clip was recorded, and one of them said that they saw something crawling and running near the bottom of the trees and said it looked like a T-Rex. So the parents saw the same thing that they did. Some British lady said, we have hellhounds, black dogs, corpse lights, and countless ghouls. So it could be that, but they don't think it is a skinwalker. This happened in Urbana, Illinois. I don't know if it's Urbana or Urbana, sorry. During spring 2018 around 8 p.m. I was driving an SUV, okay, yo, no need to flex. I was driving an SUV through a residential area with moderate street lighting. I was coming back home from grocery shopping and turned a corner into the usual street. After driving one block, I saw something similar to a large white silver dog figure suddenly run towards the right front wheel of my vehicle. I gauged its size to be substantially larger than that of a German Shepherd, with an unusually bright hide. I braked quickly in fear of having run over it. Within seconds, I got off the car and performed a quick check. No signs of any injured animal. No nearby rustling into an unkept garden next to where it all happened. No animal crossing the road. This took less than 5 seconds. Then I paused and saw the same figure 2 blocks away from where I was, looking at me intensely for about 30 seconds. I looked at my car's tire and back, and it was suddenly gone. After this, I drove around several blocks without signs of any dogs or similar animal nearby for about 10 minutes. Estimating the distance and time between events, I am certain that it is not feasible for a dog, much less a large one, to run that quickly that distance, particularly without seeing it under streetlights. Oh man. Wow, somebody's saying that it's a crawler. So it says, a crawler is a pale human-like cryptid. Some people call them ghouls or crawlers because they are often seen crawling on all fours with shocking speed despite the fact that they walk on all fours. What do you guys think it is? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, I had to include this because this map shows all like mysterious cases in America of people disappearing without a trace. And if you look at the bottom, that's all of America's largest cave systems. So the theory is that people are either kidnapping them and dragging them into the caves, or skinwalkers are taking them and killing them in caves, that kind of stuff. It's super weird to me that all these disappearances are happening right where there's large cave complexes. And I doubt anyone is going deep into the caves to investigate. At least any normal person wouldn't. When I was around 10 or 12, roughly 12 years ago, me and my grandma and uncle went to Jasper in Canada. Given how I was born in Canada itself, woo, Canadian, nothing weirded me out when it came to the woods and nature as a whole. I've seen and heard deer before and a whole slew of animals. I don't remember much from the trip other than bits and pieces, but what I do remember was arriving at the hotel and climbing up the steps to the second floor. I remember waking up one morning in the hotel while my grandma and uncle were still asleep and walking over to the window to peer out from behind the blinds to see a fox standing in the middle of the road. It looked like it had been run over given how oddly it was shaped. Concerned for its safety, I wanted to wake up my grandma or simply run out there to check on it. I felt my stomach sink when it turned to face me. Its head looked bruised and misshapen, which I would have ruled out as it having been run over had it not stood up on its hind legs. I turned my head away from the window and yelled for my grandma to wake up, who slept in her bed just a couple feet away, before I looked back and saw it walk on those hind legs to the side of the building, hid from my view from the rest of the road. I looked completely insane when my grandma moved me aside and saw nothing. Well, that's great. Skinwalkers can portray themselves as other creatures, such as foxes, ravens, so. When I was about 10, my family wanted to drive cross-country through the Southwest, visiting places throughout Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. We stopped for the night at a cheap cabin. I don't remember the exact location, but I remember it being somewhere between Alamogordo and Roswell. Don't come for me if I pronounced that wrong. The area around it was densely wooded, and it was about 20 minutes from a small gas station where we got food for the night. It was a 2-bedroom cabin with a living room, and my parents took the big room. My younger sister got the other bedroom, and I was on the pull-out couch. The couch was placed directly next to a large window, looking out at a creek leading into the woods. Day went by, and everyone went to sleep. I woke up around 2 in the morning to a knocking on the window. I was facing away from it and was too scared to turn around. It wasn't a random knocking either. It was rhythmic, like a waltz with a long pause, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's my impression. Too terrified to move, I laid there trying not to make a noise until whatever was out there started to make a quiet, shrill, high-pitched whistle. When I heard that, I started screaming for my father and the knocking abruptly stopped. My dad ran into the room. He's not a superstitious man and says to this day that he didn't see anything. But according to him, the sense of malaise that hit him was unlike anything he ever felt before. He got my sister and we all slept together in the big bedroom. The next day, I looked at the ground outside the window and saw large deer tracks leading directly up to it. Yeah. My dad refused to go back to that area. Good for them. Okay, at least they're smart. I'm saying that's a skinwalker. I went to Joshua Tree a few days ago in an Airbnb with 3 of my friends. The house was a nice size and had to be accessed by an unpaved dirt road. The closest house to us was maybe a mile away. All houses in this area had private driveways too. On one of our drives back from getting groceries, I had saw an animal run away from our headlights super fast, but I couldn't make it out. I assumed it was like a deer or something because of how big it was. One of the nights of our stay, we had a bonfire and did some stargazing. I had to pee at one point, so I went inside and was gone for maybe 5 minutes. When my friend and I came back, my 2 other friends weren't sitting by the fire. I just sat and waited a couple minutes for them to come back, but ended up going inside to check for them, but they weren't there. We go back out and start calling for them and get no response. Instead, we hear coughing close right by the side of the house where the pool was. We immediately knew it was our friend because they had been kind of reserved. Our first instinct was to go find them and help them. At some points of the trip, we had gotten concerned if they were sick or something, but they ended up feeling a lot better. We start looking for them by the pool, but we call again, and in response, we just hear the same exact cough, same pitch. It was the same cough maybe 4 or 5 times. We thought our friend was throwing up or maybe smoking. Usually when we called them, they'd answer immediately, except for this time, there was just more coughing. The last time we called, they had finally answered and started coming around from the opposite side of the house from where we heard the sounds. They had no idea about the coughing and didn't even hear us calling until they got closer to the house. As soon as I realized the coughing was a lure for us, it's confirmed that something had been keeping an eye on us. Based off of what I've read, I'm sure I had a skinwalker experience. Those are all the stories I'm going to be discussing in today's video. You can let me know in the comments below what you think about them. As always, if you want to see a part 3, let me know in the comments below. And happy Freaky Fridays. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan. Stick around for some bloopers, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye. Both stricken with fear at this point when we hear our... What the fuck? They don't believe in punctuation. We were also very vulnerable in our hammock by ourselves on the edge. Okay, whatever. I looked to my car's tire... So... Somebody just knocked on my door. It sounded scary. When I was about 10, my family wanted to drive cross-country through the Southwest, visiting places through Arizona, but according to him, this sense of malaise. Malaise? Okay, I can't look too dumb. Malaise. Oh, discomfort. Malaise, I was pronouncing it right. I'm not dumb. Wow. Well.